Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another high-level match beyond all reason. And very quickly, as this game gets underway here, I have some really big news to announce. Happy to announce today, the Brightworks have received its very first sponsorship. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Very exciting to announce. Raid Shadow Legends is an online interactive multiplayer. Wait, sorry, not that one. No. It's much better, much more my style. Let me send you on over to the Brightworks in post to explain exactly what I'm super excited about. Welcome to Post, everyone, where I'm happy to introduce you to today's sponsor, LinCraft Designs. Lindsey here is the head at LinCraft Designs and is producing a wide variety of lovely wearable and handmade art pieces. In particular, really love these little dinosaur earrings, but there's tons of other good stuff here worth taking a look at, such as these bad boys. 3D, hand sculpted and customized to reflect your best boy or girl. Each one of these is a real beaut. Oh, there she is working on one there. Really blows me away, that talent. I mean, the detail is immaculate on each and every one of these. Really well worth going and giving a look. So if you've got a hankering for some lovely new accessories, you're looking for a gift for the holidays to give maybe mom, dad, brother, sister, friend, family, whoever it is, that pet lover in your mix, I know you know the one, then go check out LinCraft Designs. Link, of course, will be down below in the description, where before checkout you can use code Brightworks if you want to save 15% on your entire offer and support yours truly. All right, thanks a ton, LinCraft, and thanks a ton to you. Now back to battle. And welcome back. Yeah, I'm super excited to partner with LinCraft Designs. It looks like they're up to some really good stuff, and a lot of their artwork over there looks super wonderful. Just some really good stuff. And I'm, I joke about partnering with Raid Shadow Legends. I'm obviously a lot happier to partner with independent artists and people who are creating things, not, mobile game trash. Anyways, how about we watch a game of bar, huh? Today's match is going to be played on Flats and Forest. As you may or may not be aware, Flats and Forest is a big open map. It's very flat. Yeah. Case included, or name probably gave that one away. It also includes several forests, and boy, is this off to just a lovely start here. We've got a couple people already underway here. Our red team leader going to be representing the red as an Armada player, standing on the western side, and in the southern corner of the red team, it's going to be Pro Shaman. Pro Shaman going to be getting a couple of those ticks out on the field. It's definitely something that I recommend if you're an Armada commander, getting at least, I usually say to go for 3, and it looks like Pro Shaman has, or maybe it's Shaman, or Shamon. We'll go with Shaman. Pro Shaman definitely seems to agree, getting a couple of ticks out on the field. Going to be getting them across the way and into the enemy's base. Looks very good. Also very good for that early game scouting, of course. Our blue team leader spawning basically right in the middle of the blue team here on Flats and Forest. It's going to be Pyrotech. Pyrotech going for Cortex here and already has a couple of grunts on the field as well as a Resbot to eat up some of those trees. The trees in the early game really help you jumpstart your economy, especially if you're looking to go into any advanced solar panels. Advanced solar panels do cost a little bit of energy to build here. Let me just take a look. It's actually been a while since I've recorded a match. I recorded a whole batch of them and then took a little break, getting back into it myself, and I'm really excited about all the new opportunities coming up. 4,000 energy for an advanced solar panel, so you definitely need some way to fund that, right? Not always the most viable to go for the energy structures to produce that energy yourself, but definitely eating up those trees is well worth it. Already a tick has managed to kill a metal extractor in Lego City. Hey! JXG is going to move on over there to repair it. Nicely done. Of course, that tick also managed to find out where that green player is going to be playing from. I wonder what Shaman's view is like currently. Yeah, okay. So managed to find the lime green player, didn't find the dark green player. Didn't manage to find Firmament or Pyrotech either. And so, for the time being, going to be a very minimal amount of scouting information here for the red team. I need to... Where's my... Hold on. I've got to close something. Professional commentator here. Always improving. That's the motto around here anyways. Couple of rovers have snuck into the back lines here and they're going to be firing away. Oh, they do get the metal extractors. Worried they weren't going to snipe it there for just a second. They do manage to snipe one of the metal extractors back at Pro Shaman. So that's, you poke my eye, I'll poke yours. At the end of the day, got to be one metal extractor apiece for both of these players right here. Northern side looks like front lines are being drawn here. We do have a couple of ticks here for our orange player Plorthos. Going to be going up against some blitzes here for gold please. Moving those light tanks in and they are going to spot each other eventually here. Blasting away at any of those ticks as they come into range. Yeah, not really the trade you're hoping for there as the player with the ticks here. Getting us around, you can certainly burst down those blitzes, but you definitely don't want to take a straight up fight. The shape of your engagement matters a lot, especially when you're playing with blitzes. Think about it like this. The blitz does 1% of damage for every time that it fires. It does 2% of damage if you have a flanking bonus. Now, it may not sound like a lot, but it means you need half as many ticks to kill basically anything. So it's always worth it to go for as big of a flank as you possibly can. Nice little engagement over here, too. And Sizer's taking a lovely trade against a lot of these pawns. Yeah, nice work over here. Wise guy showing us just how wise he is, moving these units in at just the right formation. Eventually kind of over-microed them and moved them around the back into a slightly worse position, but it's hard to neglect that. What was that? Maybe 10 pawns going down right here to 3 incisors. Very, very nicely done. Shutting down Jack Daniels nicely on the front line. A single pawn remains here. How much metal is all that? Yeah, 418 metal. Not bad. And I mean, the commander's here to eat up all that wreckage, but shutting down the active army right now does mean that there's at least a little bit of potential for some run-bys, right? That's always always an option. Looks like there was a little bit of damage going on down here as well. Maybe not damage per se, but just an engagement of some sorts. Shaman trying to push in with high gain, try and both make sure that they're constantly applying pressure here. There are some open, some exposed extremities here for Alea. The commander is pretty far forward with no unit support here. What are we going for in the back line? Okay, we're switching into thug production. Have the metal, have the energy. Well, not really. The energy is actually draining slowly but surely. I think these would be well queued to build up a big wind farm or maybe a solar array, anything to make sure that these are constantly producing power, because at this point, energy production just isn't keeping up here for the dark green player. I think the dark green player might have just forgot to queue units because they have a lot of metal in the bank, but just no units on the field here. 14 true skill, 3 chevrons, probably just a newer player to the game. Looks like they're getting into it though. Maui up north setting up a wonderful little laser wall over here. This is definitely, I mean, when you see bot versus bot engagements, this tends to be really prominent, right? The laser towers are very, very good against bots, especially pawns and grunts. They're well worth building. As soon as those Rocketeers start hitting the field, though, typically laser towers stop being very effective here. So I'd love to see these forces from Clint Beastwood moving forward here. A wonderful little name. A little bit of an engagement over here as well. Some blitzes did dive on top of this orange army, but all said and done, the orange army will hold quite efficiently. I think that's going to just be a whole lot more metal going into the orange economy. Oh, a little bit of a commander push right there. Pushed right into some laser towers, and that's going to be Maui's commander with a hot and juicy 1.2 thousand metal steak laying on their plate right in front of them here. All that's going to be quickly devoured, and yeah, that's a really nice boost to the economy for the northern player. Do they have a way to spend it? Not really. They've gone for the advanced solar panels, which I do quite like, and those are very metal dense, so it is a decent way to spend it, but I guess what they're really lacking right now is the build power. Across the battlefield, we do have some orange characters running across, getting a little bit of a run by in. Managing to take down 3 metal extractors is nothing to shake your head at. Oh, orange commander does go down for it, though. Oh, if Gold Please loses the commander, this should be an even trade, but right now the commander does look like it'll stay up and running, and that means it can go eat up that corpse eventually, if not by resbots, if not by constructors. Somebody should eat that corpse. Forward vehicle bay here for Pyrotech coming up here. We have Wolverines already out on the field to besiege any of these positions, grunts as well as sort of an armored support, and the Pounder, of course, to keep all of the spam at bay. Grunts can take decent trades against blitzes. It's very difficult, it's very tricky. The shape of your army matters a really, really huge amount. More so than basically, you know, most other engagements, most other T1 engagements. You have to be microing them very, very well, but it is possible. And it's very annoying to deal with as an Armada player because it feels like you're making the right unit for the right job and you still don't manage to to get that really effective trade, which is frustrating since that's Armada's entire purpose. Armada's touted as the choose the right tool for the job. Choose the right tool for the job, the specific unit for the job, rather than choosing, you know, a blunt solution. It's more Cortex's thing. Both valid. Although I think the nuance of using EMP tends to be a bit more entertaining, at least to me. Grunts do jump on top of a whole lot of these Janus here. It's a nice catch. Grunts are pretty cheap, and Janus are not. So losing a couple of those definitely going to justify the costs there. Friendly Janus tanks from the purple player are also included in this mixture as sort of a backup fire support. And fire support they shall. A little bit of friendly fire there, but I think it was well justified because that is essentially the entire army of the hot pink player now going down, reduced to atoms, as there's not really any support from the brown player, because the brown player is dealing with a southern incursion. Yeah, eventually those units are pulled here, but it's already way too late for Rage on Bar, whose commander is going to go down alongside all of the forward facilities. This is not good. Blue player now has free reign into the backline. I'm wondering where these grunts were pulled back. Yeah, there must have been a miscue there, accidentally selecting all army or something. Yeah, those grunts should definitely be able to do quite a lot of damage. Didn't manage to get that metal extractor up there. That's a bit of a bummer. I'd love to see these splayed out, right? Just a huge arc so that they can go pop as many metal extractors as possible. You're probably not going to get anything too tremendous in the backline here, but you might very well be able to kill essentially all of the economy structures, assuming that they're unguarded by LLTs. Now, that being said, these grunts did make it pretty healthy into the backline, and now they're going to start firing away at all these solar panels. Doesn't matter how much metal you have, if you have no energy to spend it, those solar panels do shut down as soon as they get touched by even a single hair of damage. Ooh, down they go. Grunts are going to be pushed back eventually, or pushed off eventually. T2 lab goes down, though. That's a huge expenditure of metal. I think maybe jumping into T2 a little bit too soon there. Jumping into T2 before having a way to pay for it is always a risky gambit. It works if you can get that advantage early on and then your enemy doesn't punish you for it, but it is a risky play, and it looks like Rage on Bar is being punished heavily for it. Grunts continuing their assault in the back lines here. Wind turbines going down, metal extractors going down, basically everything going down here. This has been a very, very expensive week to clean up. Looks like one of the players here for the red team has already tapped out. Not sure exactly which one that was. Looks like it was the brown player over here. So that is going to be Rage on Bar, at the very least inheriting another base, so maybe going to be able to recover in that sense. But it also means you inherit their their front line, right? You inherit their troubles as well. Yeah. Sorry, I had a stray string coming out of my shirt. I'm having all sorts of trouble this cast. Bunch of engagements up north as well. We have blitz on blitz action, and that basically comes down to who can surround who, or who could surround whom, I should say. And in this case, it's going to be the orange player winning that engagement quite dominatively. Very nicely done. More stuff beating less stuff is what we're seeing here, and hardly surprising. It's kind of the name of the RTS game, is figuring out how to mass your units in an appropriate way so as to leverage them against your enemy in a better situation than they can. Maui with left only the commander on the front line. That's a risky gambit. Blitz is now pushing into the back line too. Pink tanks collapsing on every single speck of army that is now trailing its way up north here. Wise guy is getting units out on the field. There's 3 T1 bot labs. Oh no. Uh-oh. Blue Hussar might be coming from a different game where this is viable. In this game, you definitely want to go for build power over building extra laboratories. It tends to be much more efficient. Instead, pumping out T1 units very, very slowly. I mean, technically, you don't have to build power, right? Like, you can just build a ton of labs, but you're going to pay 600 metal per lab, and those units don't come out very quickly. Yeah, I think you're probably better off going with build power. In fact, I'd say you're definitely better off going with build power. Oh, will Janus fire a second time? Ooh, it will. Right into that clump right there. That's about as good a connection as you could hope for, but will it be enough? Might very well be. A lot of those thugs are looking very low on health. Medium tank's quite sturdy as well, and there are the fiends. Looks like T2 has been hit by high gain all the way in the southern corner here. You can see those T2 units starting to make their way out. You have to have a delicate mixture of T2 and, T2 assault units and T2 shelling units, Sheldons, if you will, basically artillery pieces. It's a very tricky mixture to master, but once you get it down, you can do a very, very nice job with it. Forward vehicle bay has been destroyed by Pro Shaman. We'd love to see him eat this wreckage up. It's kind of going to waste right now. Oh well. Looks like there's tons of metal in the banks here anyways. Tons on the field as well. Fiends did manage to burn through and cause a tremendous amount of damage. There was a little bit of a push down south, but High Gains Commander was able to clean that up. And forces for the red are starting to rebuild, restabilize. Agitator was built over on this side. Oh, a lot of those artillery pieces were connecting right there. They don't usually connect so effectively, but yeah, a lot of them actually did land on top of those Januses, and so Yeah, okay. Janus is being burst down here by static defense. Flame turrets also doing a great job of melting down a lot of this. Agitator soaking up a lot of the damage here, just being an HP shield so that the flame turret can work its magic. All right. Talk about an effective static defense right here. A couple of pop-up flamethrower turrets, couple of twin guards, and an agitator managed to hold this front line, and that is, of course, a ton of metal here for the maroon player, Pope. Blue Hussar might have overextended with the commander here. 3% left on that bad boy. Being lasered down by Centurions and Mesas galore. Commander will go down in the middle of the map, and that is more metal headed right on back to the red team. Talk about an opportunity to recover here. The red team certainly has a chance. I thought they were really dead with that early breakthrough right here, but it looks like Pyrotech decided to invest in a T2 instead of a T1, using those T2 to leverage them against the highest player on the red team down south here. But it does mean that his line is a little bit vulnerable right now. Certainly Pope could start harassing, sending some units on through. You can almost see the pathway forming right here. A lot of pings from the blue player here to eat all this up. And I think that's exactly the right idea. Sheldon now marching forward. Sheldon marching backwards are going to have a better time than the Sheldon marching forward. Defender's advantage. It's prevalent in a lot of different ways, but that is one of them. Shaman trying to hold on here. Sheldon do contribute an overwhelming amount of fire support, though. They are very, very dangerous. Especially to T1, but even T2. Nice little line of units here from the hot pink player. Maroon player also trying to use those T1 units to the best of their ability. I mean, they are finding a T1 army to engage into here, but still, those vehicles up on top of the hill are going to have a better time firing down on the vehicles at the base. Which does mean that the maroon player has to be very careful about exactly what they do to leverage into a different position here. I think it's about time we go into T2. Yeah, tons of solar panels, tons of advanced solar panels. Definitely enough metal in the base in order to go for T2, but also out on the field, there's probably plenty of reclaim wreckage to eat up and turn into juicy heavy tanks. Gunslingers are out. Pretty good option, but you do have to micro them. Yeah, this one's going to go down alongside its brother here. There's another one out, and you can see they do a decent amount of damage to those tanks, but yeah, the real power of the Gunslinger comes from its ability to stun these units, although not really giving us a showcase right now. I'm not sure why that's not... Oh, there we go. I guess it sort of depends on the angle, I suppose. But either way, yeah, you can see it there. Impulsing that tank and stunning it, essentially, and then able to blast it down consecutively over time. Gives it a lot of experience, too, and their range does increase as they get better and better at shooting, too. So this unit pays dividends to micro well. One of the few units that I feel like really rewards stellar micro. Micro in this game is much less important than comparative RTS games, and so those units are further and farther between. Yeah, I just used further twice. Get in the comments section. A couple of Jaguar lightning tanks have already breached the line here. Pro Shaman in a lot of trouble. T2 facility is up and running, but all the build power is gone, and there's not really a T2 economy on the back of this. There's no advanced metal extractors, there's no fusion reactors, there's basically no T2 metal production. However, relying on the generosity of teammates is never a, never a problem. It's always available. But dealing with these lightning tanks is definitely difficult. Certainly a bit harder than dealing with these T1 tanks, but those sumos, man, are they durable. They do a great job of shutting down all this aggression. I think eventually these T1 tanks are going to be blasted to smithereens. There was an incursion over here, but it looks like basically all of the damage was mitigated up on this middle side here for the red team. And so our hot pink player will manage to stabilize once more on the front line. Has a mixed composition of T1 and T2 out at this point, and I think that's exactly what we want to start transitioning into. Getting some consoles out to start rebuilding metal extractors and also start reclaiming forests, flats, all that good stuff. Definitely going to be well worth it as well. T2 army for the blue player is now colliding with the T1 army of Pope, and I think Pope has missed the critical window to go up to T2 here. Yeah, I think T2 would have hit like a truck right down the middle of this lane. 10 or so Tigers going right through the heart of the center of the map here and going into Blue's base. Could have done a huge amount of damage, but instead stuck around on T1, and I think the opportunity to go into T2 is just lost at this point. Going for another Agitator, we're really behind that stage in the game. T2 is just going to destroy an Agitator so quickly that it's horribly worth it. You're really not going to be able to find an efficient trade with a T1 static defense hardly at all here. You can see those artillery trucks firing away from long range, the Quaker. Very powerful. Powerful stuff. Yeah, that Agitator's never going to happen. Commander does go down, taking down basically everything around it, agitator included. Now this area is nice because it does offer you a bit of a fallback point, but still, losing your commander, losing all that metal, losing the constructors, the metal extractors, all that, I think it's time that we start thinking about T2. Indeed, that's what happens as Pope decides to transition into T2. Would love to see him start eating up these T1 solar panels. We've got about 2,500 metal in T1 solar panels. Could certainly pay for the rest of that T2. Certainly worth keeping in the back of your mind if you're ever in a similar position here. Janus is still relatively powerful against that T2. Some T2 anyway. And it comes back to, once again, more beats less. Looks like Firmament's in a little bit of trouble here too. Those artillery trucks are firing away with a wrathful bombardment. Up and onto this hill, trying their very best to get damage done wherever they can. Sort of failing to focus fire though. I'd love to see this gauntlet taken down. This thing is getting way more value out than it really has any justifiable means to. I mean, with T2 artillery, you really shouldn't take basically any damage from a T1 gauntlet or agitator or anything like that. Southern side, mostly stabilized. Pro Shaman has got himself a couple of T2 metal extractors, so that's quite nice as far as holding that line goes. We do have a lot of reclaim available on the front lines here too. We have Sumos to shut down any of those heavier hitters. We have the Fiends to blitz through and try and do some damage wherever they can. And we have High Gains Commander up here building metal extractors wherever possible. Rebuilding the metal extractors is crucially important here, and I think it's one thing that the red player could stand to do is build a butler and have the butler go around claiming up all of these metal extractors. Pulling that metal back into your economy is super, super important. It's very easy to forget. I mean, I find myself doing that all the time. You lose a bunch of metal extractors, and at that point you think, well, it's probably not worth it to rebuild them, but it absolutely is. Doesn't take all too long for a couple of metal extractors to pay themselves off. With 2.1 metal, I believe the math would add up such that it would be 25 seconds, give or take. A little bit less than that. 23 seconds, something like that, for the metal extractor to pay its own cost. And doesn't take long after that to start feeling the positive benefits of having reclaimed those. Sharpshooters are kind of the name of the game that we're going for in the middle of the map here, sort of towards the northern side from Jack Daniels, and I don't mind it. It's definitely a potent option. That boy is also very dangerous. Dangerous to T1 at the very least, but also, you know, you don't want to walk any Sheldon or Wolverine or any of those lighter siege units into those fat boys either. They certainly pack a punch. Sharpshooter's a little less potent against Sheldons, especially concerning that the Sheldons have radar jammers, so Sharpshooter's going to have a really hard time targeting them without any sort of scouting ability, right? No ticks, no spy bots, none of that sort of stuff. Gunslingers here actually shut down Centurions quite nicely. Well, it might have been the Sharpshooters in vast conjunction with those. Hot Blink player has broken this southern mountain quite nicely here, taking down all of the static defense. Love to see some Resbots eating all that up. I think that would convert this into a much more convincing victory here, but all said and done, nice to have that broken. It's one less thing to worry about. Little harassment force of blue units are making their way down south here, and I actually really like it. It's very important to continue poking and prodding your enemy and making sure that you're trying to do as much damage as possible. A Pitbull has been set up over here, but it is, well, just a lone Pitbull. How much can he do? Not a whole lot, as it turns out, in the face of all of these units. What are we going for as far as unit count goes? It looks like just not enough units. It's the befuddlement of many a commander. You fall prey to your own ambitions, and eventually you just run out of unit production. It's also the fact that those bulls are so expensive. Really, really expensive unit to field on the front lines, and so making those as opposed to making Jaguars on a map this big, I definitely would probably rather choose the Jaguar. Huge army of blue units here, about 11,500 metal worth of units, combined arms of T1 and T2, mostly T2 though, meaning of course that that's a fairly respectable army, one to be feared. Tiger tank being annoying, but I do believe it will be shut down here by these hounds eventually. Emphasis on eventually. There we go. Eventually goes down, doesn't manage to kill the metal extractor, but certainly scouting out where the hounds are is not a not the end of the world. The click of the sharpshooter is definitely one to fear, though. Big bombing run. Ooh, almost missed it. Big bombing run on the T2 lab down south here. That'll be the red players', well, basically entire production status going down. A couple of the bombers survived. A lot of them fell to the flak turret, though. Oh, yeah, there is more flak up now, and the bombers are going to come in for another run. Oh, they managed to drop their payload. I think they've got it. couple of energy converters will go down. That triggers a chain reaction that blows up at least half of the build power over here for the yellow player. Not the end of the world, though, because it does mean that their sim city gets to be reorganized, and they get to reinstate that economy elsewhere in a different way. Always a chance for improvement, right? Take it on the other cheek. Sharpshooter wall is starting to come up to speed here. We're getting to that point where the sharpshooters are in big enough numbers that you really can start to move them offensively. You don't have to retreat with them defensively and use your defender's advantage. You can just move them in as you see fit. And there they go. Picking apart any of those units with just a click or two. They're a very, very effective way of transitioning into T3 or holding the line against T3 too. Just because of the fact that you can do so much damage in such a huge burst that if you're not producing a rapid onset of T3, you're never going to be able to effectively deal with all that. More Tigers moving in here, but a lot of them do go down. Looks like the Green Commander went down on the southern side here while it was up in the northern side, focusing on that engagement. Bunch of Fiends and Grunts and other such T1 and T2 assault units will be spared to try and push back the forces of yellow on the southern side. Don't mind it. I think that's probably a decent enough trade, and I'm sure repelling this attack with, well, for the cost of a bunch of Grunts and Fiends is probably well worth it to the blue player, considering that the green definitely desperately needs to get some units out on the field. There is a sizable army, though, here for the dark green player. We can see a lot of T1 and T2 units combined in here to a total of about 6,800 metal. Very nicely done. Ticks are, you know, they're one of the units ever. You have to be so careful with your ticks. They really can be a force of destruction or a massive waste of time and resources. They can offer you a tremendous strategic potential, or they can offer you a severe hindrance and distraction, and oftentimes that comes down to exactly how you use them. And how you should use them is as a scout and a distraction. Find where their sharpshooters are. Find where their what are they called? Starlights? Yeah, the mobile pulsars are. Find where basically all the units that you need to distract and or see are, and send the ticks in. Like for instance, the blue team is doing here, sending in Grunts and Ticks and combined arms to waste all the sniper shots, and that's going to mean that the snipers do get overrun here. Tanks are going to be able to jump on top of them alongside a whole bunch of hounds, as well as just more and more T1. Grunt's very, very good at countering the ticks, but also you could just put a Juno bomb down. That also counters the tick pretty well. Sheldon now firing away at a lot of these fat boys that don't really have any inclination as to where they should be shooting. I think these can almost outrange the Sheldon. Well, they can't really outrange the Sheldon, but they can certainly get pretty close here. The AoE can tickle away at those Sheldon if only they would fire. There goes one of them. Pop. Yeah, a lot of damage, but you definitely need to make sure that you're engaging them as effectively as possible. I think those Fat Boy probably could have done a lot more, but there's already so much damage going on up north here. There's a bunch of Tiger tanks pushing forward. You can pop a bunch of energy converters. Not the end of the world at this stage in the game, but it still certainly hurts. Every energy converter down is 4 metal out of your pocket, and I'm sure you'd rather have the metal in your pocket than out of it. These Tiger tanks are in the back line. I mean, we need to address these. If we leave them untouched, then it's a pretty efficient trade. It's one that I think the Tigers would be pretty happy about. Eventually the Tigers will be cleaned up. However, there's still a swarm of T1 forces to deal with over there. Down on the southern side, we do have a bunch of bulls getting engaged. Congratulations to them. I wasn't invited, but, you know, still all of my well wishes. I do like the inclusion of a couple beamer turrets, though. Yeah, I think the beamer turrets are actually really nice here. Gunslinger also trying to whittle down these bulls, but man, those things are tanky. Very difficult to deal with. I would rather have the beamer when I have to deal with bulls, but still, it is a T2 tank dealing with a T1 defense, right? So no matter how efficient your defenses are, it's probably not going to be efficient enough. We are sending out scouts. It looks like a nuke has been built here by the blue player. Not quite charged up yet, but oh, the location has already been spotted. Looks like they're plunging the nuke directly into the heart of the yellow team. The yellow player on the red team, I should say. It's Cortex nuke too, so it takes out quite a wide area of effect. Definitely well worth investigating. Northern side is crumbling, though. Yeah, the grunts are, I mean, this is an effective grunt spam, right? As long as these guys are firing while they're running by, then your spam is actually doing some work, and you're eventually whittling down your enemy's defenses. That is exactly what I like to see out of a big spam of units. If we trace this back to its source, we can see all of these labs queued in various different directions. It's exactly what you want to do. You want to make sure that there's pressure being applied evenly all over the place so that their defense has to be spread. Once the defense is spread widely across the entire battlefield, that's when you have an opportunity to punch through with a bunch of your heavy-hitting units, and then you can break the lines and strike at their economies. Banishers versus Ticks. I mean, technically a decent matchup. Unfortunately, Banishers tend to friendly fire, so case in point. A couple of dead Cortex tanks right there, where really there should be none. Banishers really do have a hard time dealing with Ticks. Banishers and Cortex in general has a really hard time dealing with swarms of units. Their static defenses are quite good for it, but a lot of their regular units are just not so good at dealing with swarm. Now this is a massive push right through the middle here. Huge cluster of Starlights over on this side here. How many Starlights is that in total? 14 Starlights, 87 kills between the bulk of them. We also have a whole bunch of Ambassadors, those rocket launchers. Very good as well, of course. Great for allowing you to burst down any of those static targets. Tons of AA included here, so Shuriken are not going to be an issue. Yep. Down they go. Very, very quickly. That was quite nice. Just worried these Ambassador missiles might friendly fire a little bit there. This is a difficult composition to break right here. We have the Jaguars for that anti-spam effect. We have the Pulsars, of course, for bursting down anything really expensive. We have the anti-air here for dealing with everything else. There is some engagements going on over here. There's a lot of units sneaking around, but I'm going to keep my eyes over on this hot pink player. Looks like the lines are mostly holding here. There's Marauders all over the place. But this push, this is getting dangerously close to the blue production center. Uh-oh. Yeah, blue just doesn't have anything to deal with this. I think a scuttle or two might have been a decent option. Try and take out their radar bot here, the radar vehicle here. Try and plunge a scuttle into the middle of this, but as it stands right now, I mean, this is only one or two good missile connections away from chain reacting all those Starlights and killing this entire ball. There we go. Gonna spread this out eventually, but yeah, that's the blue player, or at least a majority of the blue player's production, right down the drain. Going for a T3 lab, but that's about a minute or so away, and these units are right in the back line. AA also shredding apart all those fighters. Really nice catch right there. Destroying the anti-air, and that is a excellent little jump on the blue player's economy. Wow. Talk about punching right through the heart of the blue team here. Units being spammed all over the place, and I'm not negligent of it. There are these teal-blue units being put all over the place. That is the blue player going down. A lot of units died for it as well, but still. These units are not quite done yet. Starlight's going to quickly burst down any of these tanks that are built up. Definitely hit a sort of critical mass over here. That radar bot being so pertinent to the success here because of the fact that, well, of course, it grants that long-range vision that allows the Pulsars to fire away at full range. Full range, which means full effective devastation. Finally, some T1 units are going to be spared down south here, but it's way too late. We've already lost effectively 2 players' bases here. This is a heavy hit. Now T3 is coming out from Pro Shaman, or Shaman, or Shamoon. However it's said, that is going to be T3 swarming its way down on the southern side. Static defenses have been set up here, which means that T1 swarm is just not going to cut it anymore. So I'm glad to see it being rerouted. Big old nuclear missile has been launched across the map. Oh, going to be targeting the pink player's base right in the center of production, and that's going to be a large chunk of the pink player going down in smoke here. Bombers do manage to connect with some of the green production over here. That's quite nice. Finally, some ticks are jumping on top of all this. Another counter nuke has been fired over in this area. That's going to be the death of the lime green player. Commander goes down for the blue player. Shiva now firing away at whatever they can. Starlight, likewise, trying to fire at whatever they're able to. Suddenly, the blue team has been cut in half. They are now pushed up into the northern corner with a bot spam to rule them all, to find them and in the darkness bind them. That's, I mean, it's quite an impressive bot spam, but we'll have to wait and see if it'll have any effective openings. Sheldon's for the green player, completely destroyed. This is a hero right here. This radar bot has been keeping this entire push alive effectively. Yeah, I mean, when these grunts get in there, it's nice. They do some damage, but also when the starlights pop, it kills a lot of the grunts. It's kind of a self-solving issue. That's really nice. Well, there you go. Starlights for the win. Ambassador is also quite nice. I think those did a huge amount of damage. A lot of them are dead by now, but I have a feeling these are the survivors that are, well, maybe not going to make it home, but definitely are going to live to tell the tale at least a little while longer. See just how much damage those do, though. As soon as they find a target, they fire away. They do a damn good job of it, too. Bunch of bulls sweeping up the southern side of the blue team's exposed underbelly. Yeah, excellent hold by the red team, managing to withstand the waves of T1 units up here. It really doesn't take a lot of T1 defense, but oftentimes setting up that T1 defense can be very difficult to pull off. Getting a couple of those lightning turrets up, getting a couple of maybe heavy laser turrets or some of those beamer turrets, twin guards, all that sort of stuff. It's an easy solution, but it's one that in practice is oftentimes very difficult to pull off when you have to worry about also, well, of course, dealing with all the units that the defenses are meant to handle. These bulls are looking relatively healthy, and they are now getting pretty close to the base of Blue Hussar. Hussar. Pinpointer in a lot of trouble here. It does go down. Fusion reactors getting scuffed up here, but I have a feeling they are going to survive this attack. Unless this bull decides to target fire. Maybe. Well, we might get it. No, I don't think so. Not going to get it. Bulls in the back line, though. Still going to try and cause some issues. Firing away at a lot of these advanced solar panels. Not the end of the world. They're running low on health, so I'm not sure how many more effective targets there are. Chain react some of the build power, though. Always nice. It's going to shut down some of that T1 production. Sure. Why not? Banisher push. That brown dude has been an annoyance at mid all game. Interesting. Wonder which one we're talking about. Banishers here, whittling away whatever they can, and they have the Tigers for that rapid fire support. Crucial to make sure that you don't get all your shots wasted trying to take down T1 spam, and then suddenly find yourself in a really terrible position. EMP missile connects up north here. I just barely caught a glimpse of it. EMP missile does connect and paralyze a couple of these units. Not a not game ending per se, but I always complain that people don't utilize that missile, which means that I have to praise Blorthos here for managing to remember to do that. Nicely done, my friend. This game is totally flipped on its head. Red player now controlling the entire southern side of the map here. Nearly 1,000 metal per second coming into the red economy, more or less, depending on reclaim, of course, with only about 500 coming in for the blue team. Suddenly, the red team is at a stark economic advantage. Quality of units is also worth it, right? Like, there's a lot of metal on the field for the blue team, but a lot of it is T1 spam versus a lot of metal on the field for the red team, but it's all T3, right? There's a lot more metal in T3 than T1, which means a much more effective trade. Might have gotten the colors mixed up right there, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Nuke does connect over here. No anti-nuke protection for Wise Guy or for Blue Hussar. And that's going to mean the Blue Hussar's facility does get ravaged right now, and there's not a whole lot left in the tank as far as that T1 spam factory does go. It's a lot of bulls and jaguars and whatnot building the southern side here as well. Could certainly push in and do quite a lot of damage. Razorbacks, great against grunt spam, tick spam, pawn spam, T1 spam, fill in the blank T1 spam. It's good against it all. I mean, it's the fact that they do high damage, but also they are fairly rapid fire, combines to a effect that is akin to a perfect counter to a lot of those T1 units. A little bit less effective maybe against the T1 medium tanks, stuff like that, but still a little bit less effective is still miles more effective than basically anything else. It's what you expect when you pay for a full-blown T3, but still worth pointing out. Not to mention the badass factor, right? I mean, look how cool these things look, marching across the battlefield here. Let me do this, and we can watch this bad boy Marching across to go lay a swift, laser-ridden vengeance upon the enemy here. Very epic unit. Somebody once called it the Razor Chad, and I think that's just the perfect name for it. It's got those hilarious spikes on the back. It's got that perfectly chiseled jawline, right? What an absolute beast of a unit. Very, very powerful stuff. Oops, there we go. Oh, what are we? Oh, it's because I'm still. There we go. Sorry about that. Learn something new every day. Apparently, it tries to keep you locked on even when you move the camera away. At this point, Pink Marauders are out as well, which are quite nice. They're sort of the T3 spam, if you will. They cost more than a bull, so it's hard to call them a spam unit, but it is effectively the role that they can fill. Still better to go for a tick spam, in my opinion. But anyways, the blue team does decide to tap out, and that is going to be the red team snatching, well, the blue team snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. The red team managing to clutch up and seize victory here. Talk about a comeback. I really thought the red team was done for with a lot of those run-bys connecting through. There's a lot of T1 units in their backline too, but cleaning all that up and managing to keep their heads in the game. Once again, I'd love to take a moment to thank our wonderful sponsor, LinCraft. Super excited to be partnering with you guys. Be sure to go check them out, and I will see you in the very next Beyond All Reason video. Peace out, folks.